Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, May 3rd. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The stunning leak of a Supreme Court draft opinion that would overturn Roe v. Wade has led to an outpouring of emotional reaction. From here at the federal courthouse in San Diego right now, where a protest is getting underway, to the steps of the High Court in D.C. and cities in between. Demonstrations and voices are being raised from both sides of the controversial abortion debate. We have local and national coverage, and we begin with reporter Karen Kafa.
President Joe Biden describing a draft opinion by the Supreme Court that would overturn Roe v. Wade as radical.
It would mean that every other decision relating to the notion of privacy is thrown into question.
The Supreme Court has confirmed the authenticity of the document published by Politico Monday night, a draft of a majority opinion in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, a case regarding Mississippi's law banning most abortions after 15 weeks. The case is a direct challenge to the precedent established in Roe v. Wade in 1973 and affirmed in Planned Parenthood v. Casey in 1992. The government cannot interfere with an individual's choice to terminate a pregnancy before viability outside the womb at about 23 weeks. A right protected under the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. The draft, written by conservative Justice Samuel Alito, describes the reasoning in Roe as exceptionally weak. On Capitol Hill, Senate Democrats, without enough votes to codify the right to an abortion into law, laying blame for the potential reversal.
Women in this country are paying for the fact that the Republicans have basically sabotaged the Supreme Court.
While Republicans critical of how the draft came to light.
This lawless action should be investigated and punished.
Chief Justice John Roberts said in a statement he has ordered an investigation. The Supreme Court said Tuesday the document is not a final opinion. The highly anticipated opinion is expected to be among the last issued this term in late June or July. In Washington, Karen Kafa, KPBS News.
And we're already hearing of several demonstrations scheduled to take place here in San Diego in the coming days. In fact, one Right to Choose rally is getting underway right now at the federal courthouse downtown. And that's where we will find KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman live with more on that and reaction from local elected officials. Matt?
Yeah, Maya, this is a pro-choice rally that's in defense of Roe v. Wade and in support of women's rights. And as you can hear and as you can see behind me, there's dozens of people out here. The crowd has been going. People are out here wanting to make their voices heard. You can hear a motorcycle revving up in the background. But we're also hearing, aside from people here, we're hearing from local lawmakers about this, including from a state representative who wants to make a constitutional amendment to California so California can absolutely guarantee a woman's right to choose.
If the Supreme Court of the United States won't protect our bodily autonomy, California will make sure our Constitution leaves no room for confusion.
State Senator Tony Atkins of San Diego says that the amendment would require a 2/3 vote in the legislature and a 2/3 vote from residents. If Roe was overturned, abortions would still be legal in California, but Atkins wants to solidify that with an amendment on the upcoming November ballot.
It is so unfortunate that the highest court in the land feels that they can ignore the will of the people.
San Diego County Supervisor Nora Vargas previously worked for Planned Parenthood. She's worried about those who could lose access outside of California.
What I felt was anger, what I felt was frustration, what I felt was sadness. And I felt that because thousands and thousands of women across this country are going to be impacted by this ruling. We must not forget that abortion is health care.
The leaked draft is not an official ruling. One is expected as early as next month, though.
We want to make clear to the people of San Diego that San Diego County is and will remain, regardless of this ruling, a place where we respect and embrace that right to choose.
Local Democratic Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs says as one of the few women of reproductive age in Congress, the news was a gut punch.
I knew it was something that was possible, that was likely, but seeing in writing how little some of the members of the Supreme Court care about my bodily autonomy, it was really gut-wrenching, and it was a gut punch. And I'm angry and I'm frustrated. I think it's really important to say that this is only a draft opinion. So we should be angry, we should make our voices heard, but it is not currently the law of the land. The current law of the land is that abortion is still legal.
Local Republican Congressman Darrell Issa issued a statement criticizing the leak. He says he stands for life and defending the unborn, but personal views aside, he says all Americans share an equal stake in the integrity of the Supreme Court. And to hear that this rally is still going on, growing in size. In that story, you did hear from two of the Democratic county supervisors. Now, we did reach out to a number of other local Republicans, including Supervisors Jim Desmond, Joel Anderson, along with State Senator Brian Jones and Assembly members Randy Vopel and Marie Waldron, but they all either said they were unavailable to comment or did not respond back. As we bring you back out here, this is a pro-choice rally that's in defense of Roe v. Wade. Just got started a few minutes ago. The crowd is growing. Live in downtown, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Thanks for that report, Matt. And the possibility of Roe v. Wade being overturned is yet another lesson for high school students who continue to experience history-making changes in real time. KPBS education reporter MG Perez has more on their perspective.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Patriotism is found on school campuses every day.
And the rocket's red glare.
Here at San Diego High School, more than 2,500 students from across the county attend classes, aware of the world around them and the news that could impact their lives for a very long time.
To think about that we're going to restrict a woman's right to choose is just disgusting and immoral.
Zachary Patterson is the San Diego Unified Student School Board member. He represents the young voices of students throughout the district.
Nobody out there is saying go abortions. That's not the conversation that's happening. We recognize that people need to have these options. And especially when we talk about young people, when we talk about students in our school district.
Students have plenty to say about the potential loss of constitutional freedoms.
I'm worried that they'll make abortion illegal, and that will, lead to some unsafe practices and just lead to overall women not having the choices over their bodies.
I feel like women should have the choice to do what they want with their body. I don't think that people who do not have a uterus should make an overarching decision that is so impactful, as it's really not going to stop abortions. It's just going to stop safe abortions.
No matter what does or does not happen with Roe v. Wade and the Supreme Court, this generation has already survived historic changes. It's no surprise that many of them are already working on solutions.
I'm going to work my hardest to try to make a difference and vote in the next coming elections and try to make sure my voice is heard.
Patriotism is found on school campuses every day. MG Perez, KPBS News.
The Vice President of San Diego Unified's Board of Education says she plans to bring forward a resolution next week to let students know they will continue to have access to all of their reproductive rights no matter what happens in Washington. And if you weren't aware, Russia has never formally declared war against Ukraine, but that could soon change. Reporter Gloria Pazmina with a look at that and the horrific scenes coming out of Ukraine.
Reunited at last. Evacuees from Mariupol's embattled Azovstal steel plant arrived in Zaporizhzhia by the busloads Tuesday. It's part of an ongoing effort to rescue thousands of Ukrainian civilians from the besieged city of Mariupol.
While some arrived to safety, tensions remain high back at the steel plant where hundreds of civilians and soldiers remain. A commander for Ukrainian soldiers said heavy shelling continues at the complex.
We get civilians out of the rubble with ropes. It's the elderly, women, and children.
Meanwhile, U.S. and Western officials believe Russian President Vladimir Putin is one step closer to formally declaring war on Ukraine as soon as May 9th, known as Russia's Victory Day, commemorating the Russian defeat of the Nazis in 1945.
We've seen the Russians really double down on their propaganda efforts, probably, almost certainly, as a means to distract from their tactical and strategic failures on the battlefield in Ukraine.
An official declaration of war would allow Putin to fully mobilize Russia's reserve forces as efforts to take territory in the east and south continue to falter and manpower dwindles.
They have not achieved really any of the strategic objectives that Mr. Putin set out for, and the Ukrainians are fighting back stiffly, bravely, nimbly, skillfully.
Gloria Pazmino, KPBS News.
The U.S. is putting a powerful weapon in the hands of the Ukrainians fighting against Russia's invasion. The Pentagon announced it's sending a secretive attack drone, which was developed by a San Diego-based company out of Solana Beach. It's called the Phoenix Ghost, and it is made by Avex Aerospace. The technology is so secretive that there are no official images of the device, which the Pentagon says works much like Switchblade drones, which were also sent to Ukraine. The CEO of Avex Aerospace says they cannot discuss the specifics of the Ghost drone in much detail.
We primarily focus on special customers who need things very quickly and that have very special requirements. And I guess the current situation in Ukraine is sort of an example of that kind of an activity.
The Biden administration says it plans to send 121 of the Phoenix Ghost drones to Ukraine. A landslide on the bluff of Beacons Beach in Encinitas has forced the closure of the trail there. As KPBS's Kitty Alvarado reports, that stretch of beach is a well-known trouble spot.
The carved-out earthen steps down to Beacons Beach have been damaged, many of them flattened. City engineers say that was caused by a minor landslide. The parking lot and trail will be closed for at least 30 days until engineers can assess the stability of the bluff.
The best analogy is like, I think everyone's familiar with playing Jenga. And sooner or later, the whole thing is going to come down.
Mitch Silverstein with the Surfrider Foundation says the collapse that happened on Sunday night or Monday morning did not come as a surprise.
This collapse occurred basically precisely where the city of Encinitas geotechnical reports predicted that they would occur, because it's no secret that the entire access trail to Beacons sits on an active landslide.
He says the trail has been at the center of debate. Their proposal to relocate the parking lot and add a staircase was rejected because of strong local opposition.
We're not out here trying to say we like staircases better than switchback trails. What we want is to maintain safe access for the public to a really great beach for as long as possible, for as many people as possible. And right now, a staircase on the south side of the bluff, which is the most stable area, is the best way to do that.
While no one was injured in this event, just north of here in 2019, 3 women were killed in a bluff collapse at Grandview Beach. Now people have to go to Grandview to gain access to Beacons. Local Nikki Harth owns the Surf House Hotel that's just a block away. He says he's sad to see the closure, plus that access is a big selling point for guests.
Just not being able to share that with our guests and just have the local community around it, it's going to be pretty gut-wrenching.
Harth says he loves the trail, but access is better than no access.
Everyone's going to have their differences on what it should be, but I think we need to work as a community to really find a way to get this done, and hopefully as quick as possible.
Silverstein says this is a natural occurring process that can be mitigated, but ultimately can't be stopped.
We can't save the bluff forever, because really, if you think 50 to 100 years or even further into the future, where that bluff sits today is where the beach will be.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
The complete renovation of San Diego High School is now underway. Students joined school administrators and city officials with golden shovels to turn over some dirt in front of the 140-year-old campus. San Diego Unified School District has a new 99-year lease with the city of San Diego, allowing for the total modernization of the historic campus. The project took more than 6 years of planning and voter-approved school bonds to pay for the improvements.
Well, it was students, it was parents, it was teachers, it was community members, it was school district employees. It was quite a show of support for this school and quite a display of how much this school means to the community.
Renovations will include the construction of a central campus quad, state-of-the-art classrooms, and a new college building, and it's expected to be completed in the spring of 2025.
Let's take a look at what's going on out there across the San Diego Metro. We've actually had a cool streak in the big picture. We're going to explain that in a few seconds. We will have a warm-up into midweek, but then a cooler weekend, so a little bit of a seesaw in the short range. And we'd love to see some more significant precipitation, but we're beginning to get to that time of the year where it becomes increasingly difficult and rare to find a pattern that presents us with much rain as we get deeper into the spring and the dry season is upon us. Well, we've had 5 cooler months in a row here in San Diego. Take a look at this. December, we ran about 2 degrees below average. Into January, we were about 1.5 degrees below the norm. Also, about 1.5 degrees below average February. March, a fraction of a degree below the norm, maybe a little bit more than a degree, in fact. And then into April, we ran a fraction of a degree cooler than average. It's been quite the streak here and pretty comfortable in the big picture. We'd like to see some more rain. We're not going to see that tonight. The marine layer comes back in. Overnight tonight, El Cajon, we dropped to 50. Borrego Springs, 63. In San Diego, around 59. It'll be a warm and dry stretch for Wednesday. Marine layer clouds will begin to give way to a brighter afternoon. In the afternoon hours, we jump up to 96 in Borrego Springs. Some of these inland desert locations are going to be flirting with the century mark as we get deeper into the week. But San Diego, 70, El Cajon around 84 degrees. And as we look at the details here, the 5-day forecast for the coast, a little warm up into Friday and a slight subtle cool down, about a 5-degree drop from Friday to Sunday. Inland areas, here we warm up to 86 Friday, then we drop back down to about 74. That's a pretty dramatic difference. The mountains, almost to 70 and back into the low 60s. Breezy, though. Those winds are a problem, especially to our east in the Four Corners region where they've been dealing with some large wildfires. Here we are in the deserts, 101 Thursday, 104 Friday. It's that time of the year. We back down to 92, cooler, decisively cooler on Mother's Day. I'm meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
More information pointing to the notion that getting a yearly COVID-19 booster could become as routine as getting a flu shot. FDA officials say the U.S. might need to update its COVID vaccines every year. In a report published in the journal JAMA, the officials said the widespread global presence of the virus that causes COVID-19 is the new normal. The researchers are also getting a new updated COVID booster every fall could save lives and help minimize societal disruptions. Researchers at UC San Diego have identified a gene marker for Alzheimer's disease. KPBS Science and Technology reporter Thomas Fudge says this means we can better predict Alzheimer's and maybe find the path to a cure.
The study looks back on 15 years of blood testing and observation of hundreds of people over 65. And researchers say the result is an undeniable connection between an overactive gene and the development of Alzheimer's disease. UCSD bioengineering professor Sheng Zhang says their findings were a surprise. That's because the gene and serine, the nutrient it produces, play an important part in brain development.
It's like an overshoot of the good guy, of the good stuff that seems to mark unfortunate disease outcome.
The study tracked the development of Alzheimer's over time in people who were symptomatic and asymptomatic. The expression of the overactive gene that goes by the acronym PHGDH shows up as these dark star-shaped cells, a strong contrast to the same cells in a healthy brain. So far, Zhang says they have proven a correlation between the active gene that produces serine and Alzheimer's, and while they haven't proven cause and effect, they think that's what's happening.
Our hypothesis is that a pronounced oversupply of serine makes neurons too active for too long a time and thus become toxic,
which can lead to the conditions that lead to Alzheimer's. There is no cure for Alzheimer's disease, and the UCSD researchers have not discovered one. But Zhang says there are ongoing experiments on mice and on brain samples that could lead to a way to tone down the overactive gene and the overproduction of serine.
To either ameliorate the development of the disease or even reverse the development of the disease. Those are the tests that we are currently doing.
Ironically, some businesses sell serine as a dietary supplement to increase brain function. Based on what he's learned, Zhang says for those who may suffer Alzheimer's, those supplements may be just what they don't need. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
Right now, we want to get back out to a reproductive rights rally that's happening right now in downtown. And that's where KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman is live there with an update. Matt?
Yeah, Maya, the crowd continues to grow at this pro-choice rally that's in defense of Roe v. Wade. You can hear people, they're getting excited out here. A bunch of different speakers have been going up here. We had representatives from Planned Parenthood. We also have a lot of local electeds here. We have Democratic members of Congress. Sarah Jacobs was just up there talking. Mike Levin is here. Scott Peters is here. We also have some city council members here. But the crowd continues to grow. A lot of people here with their families. We see lots of different signs, some that say resist, some that say no more wire hangers, some saying abortion is health care. And we know that this rally is going to be continuing to grow. It started just about 5 o'clock. Other signs here say trust women, as you hear the crowd applauding here. Well, again, this is a pro-choice rally that's in defense of women's rights and in defense of Roe v. Wade. It's going to be wrapping up down here in a little bit, but a lot of people are coming out here. They want to make their voices heard, Maya. We'll send it back to you.
It's a big milestone for SeaWorld. The park's rescue team just saved its 40,000th animal. KPBS reporter John Carroll takes us behind the scenes where the hard work happens, restoring health to sick and injured animals.
It's a part of SeaWorld the public rarely sees.
We have a few California sea lions that are ready to be returned.
Jenny Smith is a supervisor in SeaWorld's Animal Rescue Department. She's been doing this here for 22 years.
We're like the ambulance. We're the ones that answer the phone call. We respond, and then we're also the ones that intake and take care of the animals.
It's a multi-step process. Injuries like shark bites suffered by this California sea lion are treated, and pinnipeds like this sea lion are often dehydrated and malnourished.
We've had to really take her rehabilitation very slowly. She kind of told us, I'm not ready for fish, so we had to go back to giving her a formula. It's like a fish milkshake.
Rescuing pinnipeds and other marine mammals probably doesn't come as a surprise to you. After all, SeaWorld has been doing that since the park opened in 1965. But what you may not know is that for all that time, SeaWorld has also been rescuing sea and shore birds.
My area of expertise is birds, so I do spend most of my time here.
Kim Peterson has worked rescuing and rehabilitating animals at SeaWorld since 1999. A big part of the bird rescue mission is rehabbing birds who've been coated with oil. But they'll take any feathered friend that needs help. For her and Jenny Smith, the rewards of doing this job are never ending.
Have a bird we pick up on the beach. It's cold, it may be lethargic, not responsive, and to bring that back to health, have it fly every day. It's an incredible feeling.
SeaWorld counts on all of us to be their eyes and ears for animals in trouble, from the border to the Orange County line. If you spot one, don't touch it. Instead, call their rescue hotline, 800-541-SEAL, and help the SeaWorld team save another animal. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Hatching is a coming-of-age horror tale from Finland. KPBS cinema junkie Beth Accomando has this review.
Hannah Bergholm's Hatching all started with screenwriter Ilya Rotzi's one-sentence idea about a boy hatching a doppelganger out of an egg. But Bergholm wanted to change the gender of the main character to a girl.
I wanted to make this a story about the relationship between mother and daughter, and there is theme of growing up in hatching. So all those themes really came up from this one sentence and basically from the egg, kind of.
Hatching explores the theme of motherhood with an audaciously fresh eye as a young girl finds a mysterious egg and then hatches a deformed bird-like creature that proves difficult to control.
I really want it to be totally deformed because this creature is totally different than what the mother wants her daughter to be. Mother really wants her daughter to be this perfect gymnast with perfect controlled body, and this creature is just disgusting in every way. And I was kind of describing that it's kind of like a smelly teenager, that it's raging to its parents and at the same time just actually wants to be loved as it is. And also that it's not an evil character. It's not all bad.
The creature reflects the young girl's desperation to please her own perfectionist mother. Bergholm creates a film of visual beauty in which nothing is out of place in a home designed as a social media backdrop for the mother.
I really wanted this film to be not a typical horror film in a sense that it doesn't happen in darkness, and because I wanted to tell this story as the mother's world, because the mother is really controlling everything, and the mother is showing her family in her Instagram and telling how happy they are. So I really wanted to use only light pastel colors, because the mother doesn't want any strong emotions in the family, and everything is so well in place and so organized that it kind of starts to look a bit dead. And that's where I was aiming at, to get this kind of pretty but uncomfortable feeling for the audience.
Hatching delivers that and more in Bergholm's impressive directorial debut. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.